Well, there goes the neighborhood. Good morning, everybody. No, not good morning, everybody. Good evening, everybody. We're here. We're live. It is 11:01 in the evening, Eastern Time, on this Thursday. I've got to reset all my thinking, all the things that I've been saying for year after year after year about Saturday morning, and we're here from 9 until noon or thereabouts. So that goes away today, just for today, because if you're tuning in, and I hope you are, and if you're not hearing me say this anyway, but if you're tuning in, you know that this is a very major, special moment for me in my creative life, because it was just about 11 o'clock, 11:01 p.m., 20 years ago, that I walked into a radio station in Merrick, New York. Technically it was Freeport, but the actual station was in Merrick, with like papers in my hand, a dream, if you will, and just a desire to go in front of a microphone and be me and be funny and entertain people. And I had the idea, originally actually I had the idea months earlier, of calling it not the title that you know this show by. Oh no. Or you know this show gone by. The original title, and I just remembered this again recently, was going to be called These Foolish Things, by like that old 1940s song that Roxy Music covered. And the whole point was it would be an hour of foolish things. Silly comedy, sometimes sick humor, sometimes some cultural stuff, some shooting the breeze, like music to play, and just having something a bit different on the radio. And then it was my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, who is sleeping at the moment because we're late, who came up with the idea of like, well, how about Dave's Gone By? Yeah. And at first I was very iffy, but I have to say, it took a little convincing for me to go with that name, because it's really two things. First of all, it's not the easiest thing in the world to say. You have that V and the S right next to it, Dave's Gone By. And if anybody's remotely hard of hearing like I am in this ear, they immediately hear, oh, Days Gone By. It was a nostalgia show. So you always have to say, no, it's Dave, like my name, with a V, but no apostrophe. And there's a lot to unpack in just telling somebody the name. And also I kind of liked These Foolish Things, and I didn't want it branded necessarily as a nostalgia show, because at that point I was in my mid-30s. I was 38 years old. I'm 58 now. But, the idea of having Dave in the title and me being so, egocentric in a way, I was like, it grew on me. And then I realized, well, it's a pun, which I love, and we can start playing with other things, like people who are enjoying the show. We could call them Daver hoodlums, right? Or these are the Daves of our lives. I mean, we just had a lot of fun with that. So I thought, why not? Joyce, you're right. Dave's Gone By. And it stuck. And it has stuck with us and stuck with broadcasting in some form or another for 20 years. That's why we're calling this show It Was 20 Years Ago Today. Right this moment, I was doing Dave's Gone By. I promised in my blurb, in my promotion for this special evening episode. It feels different doing it at night again. I've been doing this so long in the mornings now that I forget. When I first started, for the first couple of months, I was on at 11 o'clock at night. And then we shifted to like earlier in the evening, on another day, and they gave us 90 minutes instead of 60. And then we went back to late night, except when no one came into the radio station after we were done. We stay on for another hour or two, just taking phone calls and having fun and goofing more. So it's been through all these permutations, but it's weird doing it right now. But this was the thing. It was Sunday night, October 6th, 2002, right? that was it. That was the day. And I planned for it, and I'd done all sorts of script writing because the early shows were almost completely written out. I did not trust myself as an extemporaneous speaker, but I knew myself as a writer. So I thought, okay, I'll have the funny bits written out, I'll have the jokes, I'll rehearse everything, 57 minutes a week, why not? And I did it for a very long time that way. Even though I was, at that point working different jobs and doing other things, I made so much time, put aside so much time to do the show. And in some ways I miss that, and I miss the compression and that I write very tightly. And so I was able, in 57 minutes, to squeeze in like 8 different segments of the first couple of episodes, the first couple of years that we did the show. And then as I moved to college radio and internet radio years later, suddenly it's like, oh, you got 3 hours in the morning. I was like, yeah, okay. So I'll just do a 10-minute intro, and then I'll talk about the theater for half an hour, and then I'll play, 5 Bob Dylan songs and all of this. And so it sort of stretched into something else. And I do love that something else also. But, I kind of like, let's hear a little bit of the way it was. And again, I was going to say it's not that special because we've got the davesgoneby.com archives. So anytime over the past 20 years, you could have gone and listened to our very first episode, our very first moment on the show. But, and I even play, I think, on our 500th episode and our first anniversary or something. I'm going to play a little bit of it again. And then we're going to bring in our very first guest of this special 20th anniversary episode, our 867th of Dave's Gone By. This was the first.
The following program is brought to you by Total Theater Online. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the staff or management of WGBB. You're listening to the station that serves your community, 1240 WGBB. And now it's time for Dave's Gone By with David Lefkowitz.
I'm going to lower that for a sec because I can't play Captain Beefheart now. But I could back then. It was a radio station. And here I was already panicking a little bit because I was supposed to have started talking over this already. And then, but there was a little bit of a DJ mix-up and things were so chaotic in that first episode that I'm sort of kind of, come on, I'm losing 10 seconds that I didn't budget for because you're playing more music. But then eventually I came on.
I'm playing this music.
See, more Beefheart. And then it was almost a whole minute before I took the airwaves. I know I'm going to be thrown off for playing it now. Come on. Where am I? I come on soon, I promise. So I'll just pop that down just for copyright issues. But this already lost me like a minute that I wasn't expecting, and I was already panicking. Hold on, it's coming. Better be coming. I didn't realize it took this long. Oh, I think here it is. Here it comes.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Lefkowitz, and welcome to Dave's Gone By. It's a brand new show on WGBB. I hope you like it. It's going to be something a little different. It's going to be something that pops the peas a little bit in the microphone, something that rattles the table, something that I don't think it will break a few things, but the idea is just to have something a little bit different from everything else on the AM and FM dial. Well, not 100% different. There are some shows, I guess, that you could say were influences on what we're trying to do here, like Incorrect Music or Dr. Demento or Idiot's Delight or Glenn Jones on radio station WFMU. It's a mix of all that, of comedy, talk, music, weird stuff, fun stuff. I hope you listen in. I hope you like it.
I hope you did like it. I hope you have liked it for these past 20 years. So the reason I have the guest that I have in the neighborhood right now is this guy was there essentially tangentially from the very beginning. I'll explain the backstory. I do want to ask him to unmute because he's even gonna play a little music later. But here we go.
Oh,
So
can you hear me?
I can hear you. So let me give you a great intro here. So when we started doing Dave's Gone By on WGBB at 11 o'clock at night on Sunday nights, I was following a 1 hour show called Entertainment Long Island, which was hosted by a guy named Don Lewis. And it was kind of this omnibus mix of just him kind of cracking jokes and talking about life in general and playing music. And the music also that he played, he had a live kind of country folk band in the studio with him. So anytime he ran out of material, he'd say, "Oh, go play something, boys," and they would. And so the fun part was, and Joyce always loves telling the story, is that there they were. There's like 8 people in the studio before me with all these musical instruments. They've got 3 minutes to make this transition from one show to another, and I'm running in there, and I'm like, I'm panicking because the show means everything to me, and I've got my notes, and I got my beverage, and I've got this, and then suddenly there's like men clearing out, and I'll start talking at the mic, and somebody would be knocking, and it's like, I need my ocarina, and they have to crawl in, and I'm trying not to get distracted by them because I'm so focused back then. Now anything goes, but the person who was leading that band back in the day for Don Lewis's show, although they did make a couple of cameo appearances on Dave's Gone By, is with us today. His name is Eddie Hug. Going to give you a great big hug here. The head of what was then called Eddie and the Moonshiners. He is alive and well and obviously still making music and doing some other things. So first of all, welcome to the neighborhood. Eddie Hug, how are you?
All right. How are you doing, Dave? I can't believe it's been 20 years.
Can you? Can you now, man? When did you get involved with WGBB? Or you knew Don Lewis? That was the deal?
Yes. So he was the dad of one of my friends, Doug. And he passed away a few years ago, but I knew him for quite a while. Since the days when I used to sell art material in Orangefront in Hempstead. He was a good sign painter. He used to come in for his supplies over there. And I knew he did a little bit of music, but I didn't really know what he did. But I think we bumped into each other in like 2001, 2002, maybe at the gas station or something. And he said, "I'm doing this radio show on WGBB. Would you like to play some music with us?" Actually, before that, no, yeah, that's right. He said, "Would you like to play some music with us?" And at that time, we were Eddie Hug and the Moonshiners. We played bluegrass. So I said, yeah. And then I went to his house a couple of times, and he played his baritone ukulele, and I would play mandolin along with him. And he did this old, like 30s and 40s jazz music, which I really liked. But we went in as Eddie Hug and the Moonshiners with bluegrass.
Right.
And it's pretty funny because our bass player had an upright bass, which was like, 7 feet tall. So like I said, 8 people going in and out of the studio. We had 3 minutes to set up between people at the studio. And, here's this guy with this giant bass. You could hardly fit it through the door. It was a little bit hectic sometimes.
That's right. I didn't even think of that. You guys, it's not just that you had a transition from Don's show and everybody clear out to get to mine. You had to set up after the previous show before Don, which got the equipment, Joyce Keller and her psychic predictions or something. I don't even know what it was back then.
We had like 2 minutes, and it was crazy because we're all rushing in there just to get the instruments in and then try to find our seat and be quiet while Don starts talking, So anyway, so some of the guys couldn't do it. It was me, it was Rob Olmsted on banjo, and Mike Lakaitis on bass. And the other guys got busy, and we had some guests sometime. We had Lorraine Della Rocca with us for a while, female singer. And then so everybody couldn't do it after a while, but I stuck around. I had time to do it with Don on Sundays. And I stuck around because I liked all that jazz stuff that he did. Right. And he taught me a lot of jazz songs, which I still play to this day.
So when was the last time you were in touch with Don? I mean, I got along with him. I know you were.
I spoke to him a little while right before he passed away. He had a heart attack, and then he had problems. He had health problems, and he got old. He got sick. So
he was a big guy too. He was as I recall.
So I'm going to do a little bit of a tribute for him. But you asked me if there was any funny stories that I had from WGBB.
Yeah.
So I thought of one that stuck out. So Don used to have really cool guests come in. He had some movie actors come in. We had Steve Guttenberg one time. We had Vince Giordano, which was a composer for movies and actors and musicians, and we heard all these old time stories, like when gas used to be 10 cents a gallon, stuff like that. And Don really had his stuff together. Everything was always planned right to the minute, and we would rehearse too before we would go into his show so that everything would go without a hitch.
Yeah.
A lot of these times, he would just throw the music in front of us, and we would just start, and he would play his baritone ukulele. I have one right here. I got one just like Don had. So this is a baritone ukulele. So, and he would just start
Looks
playing.
like a guitar to me. I mean, that's a guitar.
Well, if you see the size of it, you see it's not really a full-size guitar, and it's not a regular ukulele. It's a baritone ukulele. It's small.
Oh, all right.
But he would throw the music in front of us, and his music sheets look like this. I'll show you. I got one. It was just words with chords.
Oh yeah. Oh, I do that. Yeah, when I was in a band, I would do words with chords for sure.
Right, and and we would just follow along with him. So one day we had this woman on. Her name was Renata Wallace, and she was a belly dancer teacher. She was like a master belly dancer. And Don said, "Why don't we surprise Renata with some Greek music or some belly dancing music or something like that, right?" And he said we should do Mizralu, and it might sound familiar if I play it. It's like this. All right, so it's like an old song, and it
made popular again by Pulp Fiction, I think, because
right, and right. Yeah, it was redone for Pulp Fiction in a more like surfer style. So, but said, why don't we surprise her and we'll do something like Opa, and we'll like they do at Greek weddings, and they smash the glasses and plates on the ground. So I got some old plates from like the dollar store, and like some cups and porcelain, and I put it in a black plastic bag, and we brought that in that night when Renata Wallace was there. So we start playing the song, and the plan was at the end of the song, we were all going to go, Opa, and then smash the glasses, right? And make the plates crash.
Yeah.
But the sound man didn't know we were going to do that. So now, I don't know if you remember, this is what it reminds me of. Do you ever see the Little Rascals episode when they're playing Man on the Flying Trapeze, and it's all off, and every time they hit a cymbal, the guy in the sound booth, his like tube of breaking and popping, and he's like, and at one point his hat blows off the top of his head, and he just gives up and starts breaking all the tubes. Yeah. Well, at the end, when we did Opa, the look on his face was the same look. He looked out the window of the sound booth because he thought something like exploded or something like that. So, and we apologize for scaring him half to death, but it was fun. It was fun.
Those are fun. GBB was crazy. It was fun. It was good. It was bad. It was everything. But you remember the fun times. You remember the goofy things. Now, you're still doing music. You're in what band or bands are you in now, if any? Or what music are you making?
Right now, the band I have going where we can actually get together and play is called Dragonfly, the music of Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, wow.
And I play and sing the Jimi Hendrix parts. And we have 3 guys, Nick Kopolis on drums and Ron Cameron on bass. And right before that, we were doing a whole bunch of other stuff. Now everything that we had in our bands always involved the moon. So we were
the Ramones.
Yes,
you did the Ramon tribute band, the Ramones.
Called the Ramones, right? So we started. Moon was the original band, and then we were the Moonshiners, and we had the Ramones, and we had Moon Music Circus, which was just covers from like 60s and 70s covers. But then we also had CCR tribute band, which was really good with Lou Caruso on vocals.
Well, what did you call that one?
That we were called Credence County Rockers.
All right, well, what happened to Moan there? You could have figured it out. Yeah,
Credence County is one of their like stomping grounds, and the
Yeah.
abbreviations was CCR. So we called ourselves Credence County Rockers, and we did that for quite a while. And then, Lou moved, and but we started this Jimi Hendrix band, which is good. I feel like I should have been doing it for a long time already.
Are you playing anywhere in the near future, like on Long Island or somewhere people can see us?
Well, if you don't mind, if I give a plug out for where I work, it's called Creative Corner in West Hempstead, 482 Hempstead Avenue in West Hempstead, right by the West Hempstead Public Library.
Oh.
And we have open mic nights on Mondays, and then we have like jazz nights on Wednesdays. And we do everything.
I don't understand. What is the place that you work at? Is it a coffee store? What is it?
Well, no. It's called Creative Corner, and it's an art and music school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's great.
Anything creative. So I teach art there, and I teach music there. And I started there in 2015 when they opened. And I was going to the open mics every Monday until the lockdown happened.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
We had to close the store for a while. And, things are a little bit different now all over the place. Not as many people come, but that's where I enjoy, releasing my music when I get a chance, when there's nobody else to play with.
I know you're also still doing or teaching Tai Chi, because I know you're like a Tai Chi master or something.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a master, but yes, I teach Tai Chi for the town of Hempstead at Echo Park in West Hempstead on Thursdays, and I teach for the Board of Ed in North Belmore on Friday mornings. And then I also have one night for the West Hempstead Public Library, which we had to do on Zoom because of the shutdown. They didn't allow people into the library. We're supposed to go back together in person in January. I'm hoping that's going to happen. And I've been doing it in my living room that night, Wednesday, since 2020.
You are busy. Do you have a website where people can go and see your schedule, whether they're interested in the art or in being part of the open mic stuff, or whether they, the Creative Commons stuff, or
everything? Well, the website for Creative Corner is Creative Corner 482.
Cool.
Yes, Creative Corner 482 at Gmail, and you can find me on Facebook, Eddie Hug, 1G.
1G, Eddie Hug. Yeah, for 20 years, I had you down as 2Gs. I didn't know. I had never seen your actual name, but it's
actually I changed my name to Eddie No Hug thanks to COVID-19.
You're Eddie Handshake now.
Yeah, right. Elbow.
Well, before I wish you well and give you a handshake and thank you, let's hear a little bit. If you said you wanted to play a little more of a song to take us out, please.
So now Don's songs were very short, but I'm gonna. It's gonna be probably less than 2 minutes. But this one is called Sunday, and a little tribute to Don. We also used to be on the radio show on Sundays. So here's one of his songs that I liked a lot when we did it, and I'll try to get it going. I don't know if you could see the baritone ukulele.
Yeah.
Let's see how this sounds. I'm blue every Monday, thinking over Sunday, that one day that I'm with you. I sigh all day Tuesday, I cry all day Wednesday. Oh my, how I long for you. And then comes Thursday, gee, it's long, it never goes by. Friday makes me feel like I'm gonna die. But after payday, it's my fun day. I shine all day Sunday, that one day that I'm with you. And then comes Thursday, Gee, it's long, it never goes by. Friday makes me feel like I'm gonna die. But after payday, it's my fun day. I shine all day Sunday, that one day that I'm with, that one day that I'm with, that one day that I'm with you.
I'm very glad we've had this day with you, Eddie Hug. Oh my goodness, there with your baritone ukulele, and very thrilled that 20 years later,
Yeah, can't believe it.
alive and well and doing what you do, just as I'm alive and reasonably well and doing what I do.
Yeah, and you haven't changed one bit. I remember what you haven't aged.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I've got a 5 head now instead of a 4 head.
Oh,
Thanks for having me on your show.
an absolute pleasure. And
Thanks for inviting me.
of course, it was absolutely a delight. And I'm wishing you all the best musically
Thanks.
and in every other way. Thank you.
Thanks for the memories. All right, Dave.
Bye-bye now.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Eddie Hug, spilling out some musical moonshine for us live on this Thursday night, October 6th, 2022, as part of the 867th episode of Dave's Gone By, the special night, the night that 20 years ago today, I went on the air in the evening at WGBB AM radio. They always say the tower's in Freeport. It was in Merrick. Then they moved for a long, long time to West Babylon. And now I think they're in Baldwin or somewhere, or back really in Freeport. They just, pinging around, but they are still there. So it's kind of cool that they go on too, because they were an old radio station. Even when I got there, I think they were the first radio station on Long Island and one of the oldest radio stations in the country. So I was kind of proud to be part of that and allied with that, and proud for several years to be on UNC radio when my wife was teaching and I was teaching at the University of Northern Colorado, and I kind of inserted myself into the radio station there just because I wanted to be on the air. And was actually programming director there for a couple of stints. And oh gosh, I miss Sam Wood. I should have asked him to be on the show, but he was the station manager, the station everything at that point, and he was really, really a cool and helpful dude. He's been in the military for a bunch of years now and seems to be having a pretty great life. So yay to him. I want to give a shout out to Joe Salzone, who was my engineer for a while, and then his career took off, and he's been doing radio in various parts of the Northeast and upstate New York, I think, for a bunch of years now. So Joe Salzone has the career that I wanted, and I knew him when, and I gave him radio advice, and it was a lot of fun and a very good sport, because we ended up using him in a bunch of sketches. And a shout out to Jeff Goodman, who was on this program many, many times. He was the guy who would stay late with me and drive me back from Babylon, Long Island, when we would go and do an 11 o'clock show and not leave. And Jeff would fall asleep at about 12:15. I'd do another hour, and then Jeff would come on, Dave. I got to work tomorrow. Let's go home. And he'd drive me home. And then we were doing, we did another show up in a university in New York for a few months, and that was a lot of fun. So a big shout out to Jeff Goodman too. These are all folks who, they've been on the show many, many times and will return to the show, I'm sure. But I just want to give them a big old shout out today. And Tom Ross, who was the programming director of WGBB for most of the years that I was there. Before then, we had Joey Alcarice. And she was on this program just about a year or so ago with memories of the station and memories of my show. But then Tom Ross came in, and he was kind of the guy that I knew. So we have more guests coming into the neighborhood. These are more recent and more familiar guests. So let's see who's with us. Let's first admit our Chicago friend, someone who is been busy throughout the pandemic, even with theater stuff being difficult, and is now busier than ever, doing, of course, Late Night Catechism, which she co-created, and just in time for the Halloween holiday, Holy Ghost Bingo, here on this special anniversary edition of Dave's Gone By. Please welcome Vicki Quade. Hello, Vicki.
Hey, hello, and congratulations to you.
Thank
What
you.
a milestone. I know a little something about milestones.
How long has Late Night Catechism been? It's got to be 25 years. Is it 30?
Next year is our 30th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You remember the first,
Yeah.
like even the first preview or the opening night? What do you remember from that show?
Well, we timed it out, and the first preview was May 28th, 1993. And we had not really had an audience, so we only did one preview, and then the actually opening night was May 29th. But we saw that there was a little bit that we could tighten that up. So the show was on at 11 o'clock, which is why it's called Late Night Catechism. So everyone, congratulated us, and at about 12:30, we sat down with our pencils and said, okay, I didn't hear a big laugh here. I didn't hear a big laugh here. This got a good laugh.
Right. Yeah.
And we just cut about, I'd say maybe 8 to 10 minutes off the show. The show was only an hour long.
But I imagine week to or show to show it's different because you have more audience interaction and
Sure.
if something gets rolling with you don't stop it. You're just kind of letting it.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
But you do have to watch the time, But the thing is, we started to invite nuns, and even to this day, we don't charge for nuns when they come to see the show.
Wow.
We'll make the priest pay. We don't charge the nuns. And we started to say, would you stick around afterwards? And we would ask them, what's right, what's wrong, what would you add? What do you think about this? And they really helped us to shine that up.
Keep it simple, wear a wimple. Did you ever have anybody sneak in dressed as a nun and you kind of thought, no, that's a man, or no,
No, people don't do that because we would shag them out. There's only one nun allowed.
There you go.
But at Halloween for Holy Ghost Bingo, I do actually let people come dressed in whatever costume they want. Although I guess I had someone who looked like a pseudo nun. They really didn't have a habit, but they had a veil. They were trying, in some sad little pathetic way.
I mean, it's Halloween. It's acceptable. It's what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. You don't have to be 100%.
So people are in Chicago this weekend or this coming weekend, so they can see where. It's all at the Greenhouse.
At the Greenhouse Theater Center. I'll be on stage on Saturday. And because I want to be on at least once a weekend. We do 3 shows of the Holy Ghost Bingo. We do 1 Late Night Catechism. So I'll be on Saturday. And I have other actresses who are on, and I want them to perform so that if I have to send somebody out of town, they've got the show under their belt.
It's a really interesting industry. It really is. It's sort of like, it's being, that is really your career in a sense, which is an amazing thing.
Yeah. Right. For the last, I quit my ABA. I used to work at the American Bar Association, and I quit it in 2020. And Late Night started in 1993. So I was doing a full-time job, producing a show, raising 3 kids, doing some freelancing because I was still doing some writing for Newsweek magazine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Do you look back, because I do this too now, of how much you used to do back in the day, and you wonder how the hell,
I do a lot still. I mean, I woke up this morning with a piece of paper, and I wrote about, there's easily 25 things. It's like, these are the things I have to accomplish within the next couple days, and I've got a lot of it done. I accomplished a lot today.
Well, we're going to accomplish one more thing. Don't go away, because since you're so used to playing our Today Yesterday trivia game, we're not going to play the game today, but we are going to try and admit to the neighborhood our mutual friend and weekly friend, Leslie Hoban Blake, who is trying to join.
Is she trying to join? Do you see that she's in? She's not.
She's not in.
It still says 2 participants.
She's attempting. I probably should have tried to have her admit her when we first started talking, because this hello. Hold on.
Is she here? Is she here? She is.
She's
Leslie, you're here.
almost physically there. First, we'll get the
The spirit of Leslie. She's here. There you are. No, we can't hear you. You're.
She'll get to the mic in a moment. She knows. Good evening,
Good
Leslie.
evening.
Good evening. Congratulations on your what anniversary is this? 30th anniversary?
Thanks, Leslie. No, 20th. 20 years to the minute that I started doing Dave's Gone By. We're going live again. Not at a radio studio, but doing it the way I do it now. So yay! And Leslie, she is.
Oh, whose background is that, Vicki?
For me, it's actually, it was our set. Our late night catechism set in one of the away shows.
Okay.
So
I always take photos of the sets.
That's very clever.
That's a great
This
set.
is my real background.
yeah.
Oh, I should turn off my TV when I've got my TV on pause. I got home a little while ago. I went to the theater tonight.
Is this the first
Excellent.
time, or
I
was that the
did.
first? Yeah.
I broke my cherry tonight for the first time since April. Yeah, you can't do it again, I know, but
Yeah.
it's a once in a lifetime. No, I went to see Cost of Living.
Oh, and
Is that
I
great?
guess you can't review it right now, can you? Or can you tell us?
Some previews.
Well, I had seen it off Broadway. It's a transfer, but it took many years to get transferred. It's a Pulitzer Prize winner from, I think, 2018 or 2019. And I had seen it at Manhattan Theater Club. And it's a lovely piece. I mean, that's a bad word for it, maybe. It's a very touching, very moving piece about the lives of handicapped people and how many things are affected by the outside world and their world. And
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about multiply handicapped people, not like me. You know, I'm a low level handicapped person.
Right, which nobody would know. I mean,
Well,
I
not
guess
from
you walk
sitting
with a
here.
cane,
No,
but
if you saw
yeah.
me walking with my walker or my cane, you'd know. But I mean, other than that,
Anybody who watches this show knows I'm mentally handicapped. So there
well,
you
that's another story. But you wanted stories about how we met you or how long
go.
we've known
Yeah.
you,
Oh, yeah. I
or-
didn't even think. Well, Leslie, when was it in Paris or where?
No. Paris was we'll always have Paris. I met you at the O'Neill in 1993.
Wow.
And you were a little pisher at the time.
30 years ago.
30 years ago, you were.
What do you mean I was a little? I'm still a little. What do you mean I was a little pisher at the time?
You were maybe the youngest person there. I'm not sure.
You're close.
No, actually, I think
You're
there was
at
a
height.
teenager there. I think there was a student, an actual teenager there.
Oh,
But
okay.
you were freshly minted, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And I was, along with Alexis Green. Alexis Green and I were both writing for Theater
Theater Week.
Theater Week magazine.
Yeah.
And I was about to break. I was shortly thereafter to break into both the Hollywood Reporter and Backstage, but I didn't know that at the time. And I had been reviewing for some time already, but I had no credentials in criticism, so I came to get credentialed. Is what I came for.
Sure.
And I loved every second of it. I thought it was just a marvelous thing. It was under Lloyd Richards, and I met you.
And what did you think of Dave when you met him?
I thought he was a little pisher. I just told you he was a little hot shot. He wrote very well. He wrote quickly, as I recall.
Yeah.
He was funny. He wasn't funny the way he's funny now. I think he was. I'm sure he had that in him if he would, but I think he was on his good behavior.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely. I was just surrounded by people at the O'Neill. And, you know,
Right.
if I made a certain joke to August Wilson, he would have punched me in the face.
Yeah, pretty much. But I've told you my August Wilson story, right? I mean, Alexis Green and I were two middle-aged white women talking to August Wilson, and in all earnestness, talking about, you know, the fact that we were so happy that his plays were on Broadway, and he stopped us cold and said, "My plays were written for Black people. They're supposed to be seen." I mean, this is what he did on the road. He went on the road with Robert, the guy from Yale. What was his name? Robert Burstein.
Yeah.
He went on the road with Burstein, talking about the fact that his plays shouldn't really be seen by white audiences. They were really meant for Black audiences. And in the meantime, Lloyd Richards had gotten him to Broadway several times, you know. And
Yeah.
I didn't have it in me to say something like that. You know, it was like, this was August Wilson. But that summer that we were all there, they were working on 7 guitars.
Right.
It had not been seen yet. And I don't know if you knew, I mean, I don't know how much of what was going on you took part in at that point, but I stuck my nose into everything because we were allowed.
Right.
We were
Yeah.
allowed to go into all the into all the rehearsals. We were allowed to go into the room room where the scripts were kept and read them. And when we came there in the beginning, 7 guitars was that thick.
Wow.
And as we were there and notes were being done, there'd be pink pages and green pages and yellow pages and blue pages, and it would get, more pages, but it would get thinner, And that was Lloyd Richards, just the magnificence of Lloyd Richards. And you know who was there working on 7 guitars? Ruben Hudson Santiago.
Oh my God, Santiago Hudson. Yeah. But
Ruben
Leslie,
Santiago Hudson. Sorry.
Here's the thing, I don't know if you've
Sorry,
heard.
Ruben. Sorry.
But
And
this is the only sad part. The only I don't know if you've heard this, but this is actually true. Just like 2 days ago, Dan Sullivan died. I don't know if you heard that.
oh, he was a lovely man.
Not the director, not the well-known Broadway director, but
The writer, the
LA
critic,
Times.
mid Illinois. No, what state was he from?
Well, he was, I think, from either Minnesota or
Someplace,
but he
Michigan.
spent years in LA. He was the LA Times
Yes,
chief.
he was the LA Times. He was a lovely man, and he ran. This was his idea, I think, was to do. He and the older gentleman who was with us that year.
George White.
No, Chris White was not an older guy.
George White? Okay.
Oh, George. No. Sorry, George White. Right, George and Betsy White ran the whole thing. But I'm talking about NCI in particular. There was an older critic.
Ernie Shearer.
Ernie Shearer.
This is also arcane to everybody watching this. I'm trying to tell you, nobody has any clue.
You asked me for my first memory of you. This is my first memory. Now, what play did you work on that year? Do you remember?
I remember I was watching Bill Levengood's 17 Black. If that was the year I was there, that I was studying, and I went into rehearsals, wrote and instead of just reviewing all the shows that we saw.
Right.
And Bill Levengood and I became friends, and I actually published a bunch of his plays in a volume when I was trying to get a book company.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. But
He's a
do you
terrific writer.
remember who the dramaturg was who passed away shortly thereafter of cancer? Young man, 45 years old.
That I'm.
In the new theater that's on 45th Street. I mean, I know you're not here anymore, but you know about the theater on 45th Street because you had the guy who was involved in it had a play there.
Oh, you're talking about, wait, are you talking about Tony Sportiello and?
Yes, Tony Sportiello's place, right.
Right.
Used to be the 45th Street Theater, and they
And
named the
right.
upstairs theater for this guy I'm talking about, but I can't remember his name.
Oh, okay. No.
It's been driving me crazy, and I looked online, and they don't really have a history of, as they should, of the people who were there, because those people were.
But they would have the names of the theater, that theater.
No, that theater no longer exists. It's now
No, but the history of
Oh,
it.
I see what you mean.
But what happened is
Yeah.
Okay.
because
While you guys are talking, I'm going to look it up.
okay.
Yeah.
It was I think it was a Polish name or some kind of Slavic name, and I just can't think of it. It turned out to be Richard Brown or something, but I think it was
Paderewski Furniture? No.
something like that, right?
Yeah.
So
No, but you have to
the
tell
best
me,
part
what
of
am I looking at? At what theater?
you're looking up the original. It was originally called the 45th Street Theater.
Phil Bozakowski. Phil Bozakowski.
Phil Bozakowski. Thank you.
You're
Bless
welcome.
your heart.
Yeah.
Thank
didn't
you.
even
And I
have
was
to
right.
look
It was Polish. Thank you. We don't need
I
it. We don't need that.
hundreds of people have been typing in Phil Bozakowski as we
Thank
speak,
you.
just saying,
Who told you? Seriously, you
No,
just
he
gave
just
me
got it.
info.
He said, but I did notice on my phone, you saw that Judy Tenuta died today, right?
No, I did not.
No, I did not.
With the wonderful, accordion.
Yes, no, she was a funny lady.
She was
She was-
wonderful.
I'm sorry to hear that. How
I was
old
trying to
was
get
she?
her on the show years ago. And
72, 73, something
That's
like that. Yeah.
That's young. I mean, these days, that's
yeah, where are we going now with this? We're kind of
well, I just must mention that
72.
because of the morning show when you had Sportiello on,
Yeah.
and they talked about the 45th Street Theater, I went and looked at it. It's the AMT Theater now,
Right.
and I went and looked at it, and it turns out that my friend from years ago, Tam Flanagan, is the production coordinator for the theater. So we're getting together for lunch shortly.
yeah.
And that was delightful. So it's all this way in our business.
So you're going to direct again, Leslie? Because you were, years not that many years ago, a director.
Well, I never stopped. My theater ended. The theater that I was an artistic associate ended, I was busy with the criticism. I mean, I got much more heavily into the criticism as I was directing, and the opportunities were not there. I was not finding scripts that I deemed worthy. I did a major production of a Mark Jenkins play at our theater in 2008, but that's that's a long time ago now.
Yeah.
And
So-
that was my magnum opus. And I never got to. I never,
magnum opuses. I do want to ask, and then we have to move on with more of the show. But Vicki, is there anything beyond Holy Ghost Bingo? Is there anything now that?
Oh yeah, I've always got stuff coming up. But before I talk about myself, did you see that Second City is opening in New York, in Brooklyn?
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
It was it was in the paper today. Chris Jones wrote about it, and then
by
Kelly.
the way,
Leonard
Chris
from Second
Jones
City.
was up there. That's where we met Chris Jones. By the way, the year that we were there, and he is now running the NCI. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, Chris
Okay.
Jones he's going to win a Pulitzer or something at some point.
Well, I'm talking
Chris-
about Chris
Georgie
Jones from the Chicago Tribune.
Yes, I know. We're talking about him too.
the same guy. He
Yeah.
also
Yes, the same guy.
he's-
Lovely guy. He's also now the major critic for the Daily News in New York.
Yes, he is.
Because the Daily
Absolutely.
News is going bankrupt and doesn't have
Right.
it's crazy.
No, Chris is wonderful.
Oh, Chris is a lovely guy. We knew him
but-
before he got married. He got married a couple of years after we met him.
Muscle. So, well, you are both lovely guys, of course. So let's remind folks that we've been talking with Vicki Quade. Go see both Holy Ghost Bingo and Late Night Catechism.
Nunsforfun.com.
Nunsforfun.com, and we hope that I don't know how many over the next couple of weeks because I'm super busy with school, but when we do some Dave's Gone Bys, I hope that you will be part, of course, of our Today Yesterday trivia quiz. Now, Leslie, you were going to say?
I was just going to say, why wasn't it called Nuns on the Run? Was that name not allowed?
Well, it's a movie. That was.
I know that.
I called it Nuns for Fun because at the time I had 4 shows I was promoting.
Oh, okay.
It was like, Nuns 5 Fun? No. Nuns 6 Fun? No.
Right. Now I got you. I never really put that together.
Nuns.
I didn't
eat
realize there was a
one.
rationale.
They're hungry. And Leslie, so your any new stuff that's up on the YouTube channel for 2
No, there's nothing up. Today was the first show since September that it's really. So I booked up the wazoo. Basically, I've got about 8 or 9 shows already booked. So we'll see how things go.
That's really
Tonight,
great.
everyone was masked. We were at the Samuel J. Friedman Theater, run by the Roundabout Theater. Thank God bless you all.
Wait,
all
the Friedman is MTC. The Friedman is Manhattan.
Right. I'm sorry. I take that back. Sorry. MTC, of course. And it was MTC where I saw it originally. I take that back. Sorry about that.
And how many
but-
seats are in that theater?
Oh, it's an on Broadway. It's a small on Broadway house. I don't know, but it has a balcony.
But they're
and
very wide, yes.
And how well attended was it?
full. It was full,
It's
but
full.
it's just opened, so I have no way of knowing. They're being very cagey. They being the Broadway League is being very cagey about printing. They used to give daily results for what the theaters were doing, then they would give weekly results. They're
Right.
not. You have to really search to find it if it's there at all, because the box office has not been good. I mean,
Right.
if you have what's her face, Michelle,
Leah Michelle.
Leah Michelle. Thank you. I was going to say Michelle Lee, and I knew that was wrong. You have Leah Michelle doing Funny Girl. Those seats are going for thousands of dollars. I mean, they're on the black market, and everybody wants to see it. But if you have a play like Cost of Living, it has to be a limited run because it's just not gonna.
Well, but it's from an institutional theater.
You know the star of it is. Did you ever watch Dexter?
Yes.
David Zayas.
Oh, well, he's a
Lieutenant.
theater guy. David
Oh,
Zayas. Yeah.
David Zayas was the lieutenant. David Zayas and his wife Liza Colon Zayas. I once
Puerto
did
Rican
an article.
Traveling Theater.
Puerto Rican Traveling Theater, which I passed tonight. And I once did an article on them, and I called them the London Fontana of off-Broadway. No, I'm
Aw.
sorry, the Latino London Fontana of off-Broadway, because they were part of the Labyrinth Company, and they were doing all kinds of wonderful work with. Because the Lab Company was originally a Latin theater. And then it got merged with another theater, and then it became everybody. But it started out as Latin actors. I'm going to stop now. I put my history hat on.
I mean, this is really interesting to like the three people in this room.
Well, and then David, we went to Paris. We didn't go. You guys went. we all went to the act with Atka on a Paris theater trip. And
Yes.
you had just gotten married to Joyce, so it was kind of like a honeymoon thing, I think.
Yeah, well, we went to Hawaii and Paris, and I just wanted to go to Detroit, but no, like, yeah, let's do Paris. It's on the
And
Cleveland?
it was
Why
like,
not Cleveland?
I
I
know.
like Cleveland.
It was like September or October. It was not great weather. We had rain, and it was great. But I'm sure you had a wonderful time, and I had a marvelous time.
Yeah,
I
it was
got to meet Ariane Minushkin, which was a dream, at that theater. So, but that was fun. Then you were you. Then you were not. Then you were yourself. And my friend Marna, who passed away, was my companion on that trip, and
Right.
we all had a great time. Is Joyce in the room?
She is indeed. Say hey,
Joyce, do you remember
Hey,
my
Joyce.
friend
barely
Marna?
awake. I'm telling you. Yeah.
I haven't heard about
Just
this.
ask her if you. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to remember. I just thought you might. But we both had a great time with you, and I think we all went out to dinner or something. I know we took a boat ride together, and I know we were on the steps of the opera together.
Wow.
Oh wow.
See, I don't even. I remember the rain. I remember Père
You
Lachaise.
were on a quasi honeymoon. Why would you remember being around me?
But you took a boat ride on the Seine. It's so beautiful.
We did. We
We
took a
did,
boat
we
ride
did.
on the Seine.
Well, this
And
has been.
somewhere I have photographs of all of that, and I think marked Paris, but I'll be damned if I know where it is.
Yeah. I mean, back then I was still taking pictures, having them develop right
The
age.
film.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
right.
if I find the pictures, I promise I will bring them to the show one morning when you do another show. Are you cutting back on this now? Is that the idea?
Just for a couple of weeks. So
Okay.
there's no show this Saturday because we're doing
Right.
one right now. But maybe the Saturday after, it might be every other week kind of thing. I'm not going to completely. I'm not right after the anniversary.
It's a lovely thing. It got me through the pandemic. Thank you very much.
Well,
I'm very grateful to you for that, because I wasn't going to the theater, so I had no place to put all the energy and stuff. I mean, we put it on the show, but it was lovely to be able to see you every week. And Vicki, it was lovely to get to know you,
Well,
regardless.
stop talking about it in the past. The show is not going away. It's just hiatusing on vacation for a week or two here and there. Yipes. Don't put in that.
I guess I'll see you at some point, Leslie.
Right.
Years from now, next time
Before
I'm
I'm
in
too
New
old.
York.
Oh my lord.
All right, guys, it's been a delight.
Good night.
But I still have
night.
a couple of things to do on this episode. It's not going to be 3 hours. We're working to make this a 1 hour episode. We really were.
No
And
way.
then
There's no
that's out the
way.
window.
And how long has it gone so far?
Well, we're at the 55-minute mark, and I still have my oldest friend in the world is going to be joining us, and Rabbi Saul Solomon, of course, has a blessing and a benediction to convey.
Rabbi Saul Solomon is a blessing.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Thank you. I think I'll leave it.
I'm going to leave it at that.
I'm not going to talk about that. Leslie, thank you so much. See you very soon.
I have a real quick question.
Yeah.
When people come on the show, not friends, not people you've known, but when people you get to come on, do they understand about Rabbi Saul before they start, or do they just go with what? Because they all go with it.
Well, I think the press agent kind of clues them in.
Oh, okay.
Most of them are theater people. The press agent will probably tell them, "Oh, by the way."
By the way.
Except for the one who said nothing to you.
What was
The
that?
inter-
Leslie?
Did I miss
interview,
that?
the interview where the who walked off. Oh,
Mandy Patinkin. Yeah,
Well,
he
Ned
did
Finnegan
that.
is known for walking out of everything. Did he really?
Yeah, well, I told this story like 2 weeks ago.
It's
It
so
was not,
great.
it was a phone interview, and we were live on the air on terrestrial radio, commercial terrestrial radio, and we had it set up, and the press agent had it set up. He called at the appointed time. He was there, and I gave him this wonderful Rabbi Saul gave him this wonderful introduction. But being Rabbi Saul, I think he said "damn it" or whatever he did, and there was a pause, and I said, I don't think I want to do this. Thanks anyway. Bye.
Yeah, no. Well, I think you did tell the story. I remember this now.
It's a great.
Yeah.
Did you get the Mandy Patinkin that I sent you?
Hmm.
Mandy Patinkin singing "Into the Woods" a cappella.
Oh yeah. I mean, no, he's a
Okay.
wonderful singer, of course. He can be crazy and a wonderful singer too. Hit with
Absolutely.
dogs,
And difficult to deal with, and not somebody you'd want as a best friend. But
Ed
nonetheless,
Gein was a very good party clown. He was. He made those children laugh. Their moms, not so much, but And this is the Dave that you didn't know when you first met me. That's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. You were very respectful in those days.
Now it's all gone out the window. Love you,
Good
Leslie.
night. Good night, Joyce. I'll see
Good
you when
night.
I see you.
Congratulations
Good night,
again.
Vicki.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Yeah,
Take care.
congratulations on 20 years, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. 20 more for all of us, at least.
At least. Okay. Au revoir.
Au revoir. So, Leslie Hoban, Blake, and thank you so much, Vicki Quade, also for joining us on this special anniversary show. Many more shows, much more fun, and bingo.
And eventually you'll get to 30 years, so.
From your mouth, or no, I'll be too rich and indolent. And I'll just think, why am I doing this anymore? I'll have servants do my show for me.
That's right.
All right, Vicki,
All right.
I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, the delightful, the wonderful Vicki Quade and Leslie Hoban Blake here with us on our anniversary show. It was 20 years ago today that we first did Dave's Gone By. So I don't know if I want to tell more war stories or things like that because I have to teach in the morning. So
Did you have Eddie Hug on?
Eddie Hug was great. He was
What did he say?
well, Eddie he played a song. He was talking. Actually, the thing about Eddie Hug, he was talking more about Don Lewis and Entertainment Long Island. Then he said, "Here's a song I want to play for Don Lewis." I'm like, okay, Don's dead. And I was like, how about hello, 20th anniversary here? How about playing me a song? He's like, well, Don Lewis taught me this one. I'm like, okay, great, wonderful. But he was really cool. I mean,
What's he doing?
oh, he's doing music. He's doing teaching painting and art, and he's also teaching Tai Chi. He's
Who
a
else was on?
busy fella. Well, that's it. It's been Don. It's been Leslie, and Vicki.
I'm having a little heart palpitation.
Why are you having heart
Because
palpitations?
I woke up. You should have woken me.
Well, I thought you were sleeping for the night, so I'm glad you woke up so that you could be on the show just a little bit and to wish me the best for this 20th anniversary. I'll take a little bit of a break here because we were able to pre-record a couple of things for this very special show. Let's have Rabbi Saul. Let's get Rabbi Saul in here. He was on our very first episode back in October 6th, 2002. Huh?
Got you in trouble.
Oh, well, no real trouble. He'll even explain a little bit of what he did. He's here giving his 177th rabbinical reflection. These are his mini sermons. Usually they're about a facet of Jewish life or current events. In this particular case, well, he's going to be tributing me. So let me share my screen for a moment so we can get that up. Share, yep. And you should be seeing this. And now you'll see the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Saul Solomon. Shalom, damn it! This is Rabbi Saul Solomon with a rabbinical reflection for October 6th, 2022. 20 years to the day that Dave Lefkowitz, the producer of this program, started to produce this program. I was there that fateful night when we got off the train in the most romantic, exciting town in the world, Merrick, Long Island, to begin the 2-decade odyssey that would become Dave's Gone By. Reading mostly from notes and holding on to his wife for support, or possibly grabbing her tuchus, I couldn't see that well. Dave took to the microphone like I take to a brisket, and for 57 glorious minutes, Dave gave us comedy, a little social commentary, abyssal music, and something truly different on the radio. Like static, but a good static. Most importantly, Dave brought me onto the program as his very first guest. He didn't interview me or anything. No, that he saves for the big hoo-has like Carol Channing and Charlotte Ray and Charles Grodin and other people who are dead. But he did give me a chance to talk about the holiday of Simchas Torah, the first chapter of the Old Testament, Genesis, and women's boobs. Yes, this was an informational segment tied to Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but honestly, I just like to talk about women's boobs. But from that very first episode, October 6th, 2002, I have been proud to be a part of the neighborhood. In my interviews, I have chatted with the high and the mighty, the low and the lowly. I'm working on the mid and the midley. Also, I have now recorded 177 of these rabbinical reflections, my mini sermons on life, current events, Judaism, ethics, and women's boobs, or as I like to call them, tits. Dave has seen me through many life events these 20 years. He has. He directed my TV show, Shalom Damn It, Rabbi Sal Solomon's Peace, Love, and Acid Reflux Hour, episodes of which are completely unknown to the Paley Center. Dave co-wrote and directed my one-man off-Broadway show, Shalom Damn It, An Evening with Me, which was received rapturously on two coasts. Well, Colorado isn't the coast, but what, you're gonna quibble with me over semantics? Go to hell! But Dave will always be heavenly in my book for being my friend, my editor, my collaborator, my poison tester, because, I get hate mail. If anybody deserves to be broadcasting 20 more years, it's Dave. Be nice if he was paid. Be even nicer if he paid me, but I'm not one to complain. I am here merely to say Mazel Tov, Dave Lefkowitz, on your longevity, your comedy, your show. This is your holiday, Simchas Duvid. This has been a rabbinical reflection from Rabbi Sal Solomon, Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York, and gone by. Well, thank you, Rabbi Sal. Thank you ever so much for that. Let me just ask. I'll stop sharing just for a moment. So, Joyce, I want to let you get back to sleep because you're just like. But
I think I'm having heart palpitations.
All right. So breathe. I know it's really exciting that we're having this incredible anniversary, and it is already the day after now. It is October 7th,
Yes.
and so we're already like a day over, but that's okay. We can crawl into the next day. Give us one memory, and then because I've still got Ozer and a couple of other quick things to do on the program. Anything that you want to say or share, and just go back to sleep.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I remember how anxious you were, and how you were so afraid that every second had to be scripted, and that I remember Paul, the engineer, trying to read it, and you had highlighted parts of the quote-unquote script for him, and it wasn't working, and he's like, David, I can't follow along.
I was trying to make his life easier by
Yes,
highlighting
yes,
and putting
no.
stickers and like.
And then everything had to be down to the second, the nanosecond.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was.
And then look at how far you've come now, where you could just,
Yeah, now it's just like
you have 7 questions and you have a 12-hour show.
But it's funny.
You've got much more comfortable with yourself.
But it's true. Early in the show, I played the original opening of our very first show, and I was literally waiting for the show to kick in, and it turned out because there were some miscommunications between me and the engineer, and then other technical stuff. The song was supposed to pot out at about 20 seconds, and it went on for almost 2 minutes. So I remember myself like, just start the show. I have to start, slashing material here.
Yeah,
so
of course.
It was that kind of thing. But I remember you were just always supportive of me and the show, and my crazy desire to be on the radio. At a time when radio shouldn't even exist anymore in the form that it is.
I think it's the only time you're happy. So I think it's important here.
Yeah, it is tremendously important. Some sort of performative or writing thing.
It's your freedom.
Yeah, sort of is.
It's your therapy. It's your release.
Yeah, true.
Oh.
Well, so someone who knew me even before Joyce, who's known me for about 25, 26 years, even before Leslie, who's known me for about 30, or Vicki, who's known me probably a decade or so at this point, because we must have met in Chicago. Besides a relative, the person who has known me longest on this planet is a fellow that I went to elementary school with. And I always say like third grade. We've known each other since third grade. It may not have been. I mean, we were going to the same place since kindergarten and probably saw each other at that age. And maybe we didn't actually become or hook up as friends until fourth or fifth, but I think it was third-ish that we sort of circled around and found some commonality and became friends. And literally over the past, God help me, 50 plus years now, I have known this man, Ozer Teitelbaum. He's been a patent attorney, and he's also something of an entrepreneur. Not going to talk about his work, not going to talk about his dating life, just the fact that I've known Ozer Teitelbaum for 5 decades as a friend. Sometimes years will go by, we will hardly be in touch, or we'll have a phone call or a text, or he'll be living in some other city or something. But we always somehow manage, through the pandemic, through everything, to reconnect. And we're going to do it one more time today. I mean, not for the last time. I mean, God willing, for many more times. But for this 20th anniversary show, I'm going to share my screen again. Thank you. Share it. And let us see and speak with, well, at least speak with, my oldest friend in the universe, Ozer Teitelbaum. Let's make this big as it goes. And here's Ozer. Here on Dave's Gone By, on our very, very, very special 20th anniversary edition of the show, I got in the neighborhood talking to us. It's interesting, he's being very, very still at the moment, and this is not photographed, by the way. What you're looking at, he literally physically is in black and white. That's just the way he is. People see him down the street, and it's like, he's really gray. It's like, no, he is a black and white person. Ladies and gentlemen, my oldest friend literally in the universe, a man that I've known, I think, since 3rd grade in elementary school, Ozer Teitelbaum. Welcome, Ozer Teitelbaum. How are you?
Greetings.
I assume that is your guitar talking, or I hope.
That was my saxophone. What are you talking about?
Ozer was telling me just before we got on the air that one of the things that he does to keep himself sane in these crazy days and everything else is that since the pandemic, he's really been getting into writing and creating music. So Ozer, first of all, it's great to, well, I don't really see you, but it's great to hear you. Tell us a little bit about what you've been writing.
Well, I have been writing music since I was about 11, but mostly I've been focusing on, I would say, more modern classical music and some jazz. I have written some work on progressive metal too, so it's a pretty spectrum of, if you want to use genre.
And you said you were designing your own like home studio kind of a thing?
Yeah, that is correct. I'm working on my home studio.
So are you thinking of doing an album? Because I guess people still do albums, or what are you gonna do?
It's ironic. The world of music is not what it was, a mere 10, 20 years ago. Now, music is released on Spotify, and usually the kind of music that's picked up, because of the nature of how Spotify works, it's a very algorithmic, you may know, kind of system. So, 60,000 singles are released on Spotify every day. 60,000. So, I'm just going to record music because I enjoy it. I'm not going to do it for any commercial purpose. I'll probably use SoundCloud to release it. I have released some things on SoundCloud years ago, but I took them down because they were just not ready. They were not professionally recorded. So we'll do that. Put in SoundCloud. We'll see where it goes. I have some musician friends who might inspire me to do something more. But, the world of music is not what it was 10, 15 years ago.
Let me ask you, Oz, of the songs that you've written, whatever genre they're in, is there one that you are most proud of, or is that most special to you, or most meaningful? Like one that you're like, this is the one so far?
I know you interview a lot of different artists. I don't think could be, but I don't think most artists find like, oh, this is my favorite. It's at the moment, it's an expression of whatever it is going on in your mind, and it's an expression. And there are things that stand out over time that I've written, when I was a kid that still resonate, and there are things that I thought were great then. Now I shrivel. I can't listen. So it's just art. It changes. You change, and the world changes along with it. So,
and by the way, Oz, I have seen you come out of the shower, and you do shrivel. It's rather frightening.
If you see me coming out of the shower, I will send my brothers to come beat the shit out of you. So just so you know,
No,
I know where you live.
Yeah, you do know where I live now. Let me ask you, Oz. We only have a couple of minutes because it's a shorter than usual show. But you probably told this on the air before. But what was your first when do you first remember me from Bialik School, elementary school back in Brooklyn?
So we weren't going to talk about school, boy.
No, that's more about me than school. This is my show, me. So yeah.
Oh well, I mean, why don't you just say me a few more times? I remember consciously us writing a book report and you doing the Bing Crosby kind of bo ban this book. I remember that. I don't know if you remember. Do you have that memory in your head?
I remember that phrase. I don't remember the context of it. We were doing a sketch or something. Yeah.
It was some sketch or a book report or some cockamamie stupid idea for elementary kids. But I remember you visually in at least kindergarten. But I don't remember consciously having any communication with you. I mean, I'm sure I did. I just don't remember it. The first thing that I actually remember having a conversation with you about was that. Or obviously we talked before that. I just don't remember.
Yeah, no, but okay, I do. I remember making fun of. I don't know why I was making fun of Bing Crosby and using him as a censor.
But it was also the exercise. I got the sense, in the version of the adult me, of the little me, I got the sense that you thought the idea was kind of stupid. So whatever we were doing was a dumbass exercise, and so why not spoof it? And how Bing Crosby crossed your brain is well beyond my 2 years.
I was probably watching Joe Franklin or something, or God knows.
Oh yeah, that would.
I don't know.
Makes sense. Joe Franklin, that would make a lot of sense. I just remember thinking, wow, what an interesting thing, because I barely knew who Bing Crosby was.
Why would you? We were 8.
I understand. I'll ask the question: how the F did you know who Bing Crosby was at 8? And then to actually, come up with that little tune of ban the book. It was just kind of I remember that very vividly. I remember kind of where we were sitting, relative to in the classroom, and I have all that in my head. After that, the memories of school purposely have been deleted from my brain.
And also, I've got one thing I want to say to you, and I've probably said this to you personally, and also over one of my fondest memories was the first time I ever went away from home, without my mom and dad going on vacation with me. Was going to Chicago, and you will.
You were fully grown at that point.
I'm never fully grown, but I was in my 20s, And I went to we went to Chicago, and then we hung in Chicago at a place there, and then we met your friend Tony in Naperville. But
Tony. Yes, no descriptive. Yes.
Yeah. And it was just, it was very kind of you and cool. You say, hey, you're coming out, I think you even drove out at one side.
I did drive. I drove us home. You, I think, arrived. Did I drive you there? I don't think so. I drove us back from Chicago and dropped you off in New York. But I think you came out for
the
second
conference, the theater conference. I flew
yeah,
out.
theater conference.
Right.
That's right. Theater conference. That was a trip, and I think during that trip we went to. I don't think we went to Naperville on that trip, did we?
I think we did. I think it was it was my first eye-opening experience of feeling like a grown-up, being away from mom and dad,
Right.
traveling.
Okay.
Now, people do this when they're 15. I was 23. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for that. For
No. I think that the interesting thing is how many times were you in Chicago with me?
probably
Once or twice?
Yeah.
I think it was twice.
Yeah.
Yes. So I remember one time we went to Naperville, and I think it was the first trip, not the second trip. That's just in my memory, because I had two different apartments, and I had a picture of one with you and not a picture of you in the other. But I think that during the trip, the conference, it was during the summer, so school was not yet in full bore. And we went to Naperville. I also introduced you to two women who I don't know how I was connected to them. That's all vague. I had a picture of yeah. I don't know, a friend of a friend of a friend or something like that. But yeah, we just went over to eat, I think dinner or something.
Well, we're hoping
very
for
vague.
something more, but all we got was dinner. So
Okay. No.
Anyway,
Yes. I'll leave that for you. So yeah, I don't remember that other than I remember taking the train with you to wherever we went. So it's a little fuzzy.
What I really hope from is many more memories. I mean, I'm not in New York anymore, and you are, but I hope I'll be back and forth to New York a bit over the years, and that we can get together again. Yeah, and then I can see ya. I can't even see you on this Zoom recording, let alone in person, man.
Well, listen, I have to hide my identity so I can do what I do for a living, which we're not allowed to talk about. So let's just say that you can see me in person, and maybe the time I retire from, I will be visible on your next Zoom call. Maybe I'll retire by then.
Yeah, well, hey, may you make $1 million this year and be able to retire. And then hire me as your butler or something like that.
I hope you teach and get a cut of the first student you have. You get a cut as their agent. Maybe you should title yourself as an agent. While you're teaching. Hey,
15%.
Just you write a novel.
Yeah. No. Think about it. If my students become famous, or even if they just get decent jobs and make 50, 80, 100,000 a year, I'm entitled to 15%. I love it. I think that's great.
And if one of them actually gets a job, look at that. That'd be awesome. They keep the debt. They keep the college debt because, of course, that's the right thing to do. And you get the cut. Perfect opportunity.
Ozer, I like the way you think, and I've liked the way you've since we've known each other for, oh my gosh, probably about 50.
Leave that out. Don't need to count.
Ozer,
don't need to comment on the years. Yes.
It is wonderful to talk to you. It is great to have you on my show once again. Health, all good things, happiness as I move into the new anniversary, and you keep doing what you're doing. It's great to see you, man. Thank you.
Fantastic. I look forward to the next 20 years of your show.
From your mouth to God, and all health and good things to you, man. Have a great one.
Thanks, man. You too. Be well.
You too.
Bye.
So, yes, indeed. My oldest friend in the world, Ozer Teitelbaum. So good to hear his voice again. And kind of a bit of radio there, since he wasn't, going to be showing the video. It really connects back to what we were doing 20 years ago and 1 hour and 20 minutes ago that we went on with Dave's Gone By on WGBB AM 1240. We still have that first episode. We lost the second episode owing to technical difficulties, but the third episode The fourth on which Eggy, what's so funny?
That just makes perfect sense.
It does, doesn't it? But, I mentioned
Probably
Eggy Hug
because
was
Paul was just playing the hamster dance nonstop and he forgot to record.
Yeah,
Yeah, could be.
yes, yeah. Engineer Paul. I mean, we've sort of kept in touch over the years. I wish him well. But it was a crazy place that WGBB was. Let me tell you. So, but still, over the years, I was just thinking back on all the stuff that we've done over the years. So I mentioned a few of the many celebrities that we've had. Of course, you feel sad about the ones that you lose. I remember it was a big thing.
It was sad when we lost Amy Mann.
Yeah, Amy Mann is fine.
Oh.
Joyce and I have an old, long-standing argument about Amy Mann, but no, Amy Mann is she's had some.
Hello, Amy.
However, but we have had other musicians.
Did you have Gilbert?
We had Gilbert. Gilbert Gottfried was on the show. Robert Klein, who is very much alive, was on the show. Tom Papa. Speaking just of comedic, Pat Cooper, who, believe it or not, is still alive, was on the show, as was Marty Allen, who is no longer with us. Rusty Warren, no longer with us.
Are you going to ever say goodnight, Greasy?
We're rolling towards. I think we'll be done by 12:30, quite honestly. So, just a moment or two longer to just say.
What was your favorite memory?
My very favorite.
Yeah, you asked Ozer. What's his favorite song? What's your favorite memory?
In terms of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've told this before. Gilbert is one of them because Gilbert made me laugh harder than, I mean, one of those not fake, like, you king someone along kind of laughs, but one of those absolute, like, just pile drived into my gut laugh. So Gilbert, and if you want to hear the Gilbert interview, because I've told it before, but hear it. Just go on davesgoneby.com or archive.org and go find Gilbert Gottfried on Dave's Gone By and give a listen. So that is a really favorite memory. I had wonderful times with Christine Lavin.
Yeah.
She was on recently.
She's a repeat guest.
And she was on our 500th episode.
Oh, wow.
She was and she was a sweetheart. She came to the radio GBB in person with her guitar, and we had.
Didn't you like October Project?
They were, oh my God, October Project, yeah. They were friends from before I even had them on the show. Except that show, and it wasn't Paul. This was a different engineer.
What?
But he potted it so,
Low?
No, the opposite. So when they sing, it's a beautiful musical group.
Mm-hmm.
But everything, the speaking is not bad. But when they're singing, it's incredibly overmodulated. So it's all really like... And then
I think that's how they sing.
But what was another favorite? Wonderful, funny times listening to Rabbi Saul with Jill Sobule. They just had a rapport.
You like her because she's cute.
Well, she's also cute. She's really talented. Her show is opening off Broadway, by the way.
Wow.
It got postponed by a couple of days because there's COVID in the company. But it's called Fuck 7th Grade. And she worked on this musical. So, but who else? I don't know. Every little different thing is a milestone. It was huge for me to have Tom Paxton on. Grew up listening to his music, got his albums from my Aunt Bonnie. And so suddenly when I'm on the phone with Tom, and he made a return visit years later, but to be on the phone with Tom Paxton was like a momentous thing. And speaking of folk singers, we've also had on Judy Collins, and she was on twice, in fact. And Peter Yarrow, Peter, Paul, and Mary has been on.
I think you should wind down because you have an early call.
I know, I do. Well, I just wanted to give a couple more quickie sort of memories and to thank, thanks to I get all the people before. I remember the years of number one fan Pam calling. She was a friend before the radio show, but she used to tune in. And
what about the woman giving birth during your show?
That was recent.
Yes.
There's a woman where I was working just a few months ago. Her coworker sent me a photo, and there are her legs. I mean, it's not facing her; the camera's facing away, but showing her foot and a hospital gown. And Dave's Gone By on the laptop, and she is literally in the middle of giving birth. So I have my youngest fan. Well, our youngest fan was like a half hour old. It skewed my audience because my audience was like 50 plus. It suddenly went down to 33 plus because our first viewer is now, one half of a quarter of a day. But that was great. I mean, that was a very happy and memories, honestly, of going overtime with both Jeff Goodman and when we were on late.
Oh,
And my dad would
yeah,
call
up all night, yeah.
Yeah, and I love my dad. I had a good relationship with my dad,
But
but
also
we weren't.
he was like insomnia, so he was up late
Yeah.
and he was in light out.
The best times I had with my dad, when I could talk to him and have fun with him and joke with him, was
On
getting
the
him on the
radio.
air. He would call the station
Aw.
and he'd stay on for like 45 minutes
But
till
he
he
thought
fell
he was
asleep.
talking to Joyce Myers, the psychic.
But that was meaningful to, especially more meaningful to me now. But I knew it was meaningful to me then. I knew I was having conversations with him that I just wouldn't have the time for and wouldn't want to deal with off the air.
Wow.
And here I was just having fun with my dad, and hours of it. And it's preserved. Like when I'm his age and I'm in his horrible physical condition that he was towards the end, I can put in and hear my dad on the radio, That was pretty important and meaningful to me. And doing
Nice
some of
memory.
the songs and sketches that we did.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
What about Joe Salzone playing your mother giving birth to you?
That was fun. Was that Joe or was that Scott?
I think it was Joe.
It might have been Joe.
I think Joe was pretending he was giving birth to you.
That was pretty fun.
I think,
yeah. We just and knowing sometimes it was this other thing, and then I'll get off the air in a minute or two. But like when I was at Playbill and writing for some other magazines and stuff, I would be interviewing famous people all the time. By telephone almost always, but still, I pick up the phone, I have to call this famous person, that famous person, this Broadway actor, this person who's on TV, this person who's, a famous director or something. And it almost got boring. It became rote like anything else. But then when I started doing the show, and I had to go back to sort of ground zero, if you will, it was this thing of like, I'm not Playbill anymore. I don't have that big yellow banner behind me.
You.
I'm just me doing this stupid little show. Who's going to go on this show and talk to me on, college radio or WGBB AM at 11 o'clock at night?
Yeah, a lot of people.
And it turned out, if you ask nicely and they know who you are and the press agents know who you are, sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. But there was a thing of like, oh my God, they're talking to me on my little show. And it's still there, and you can still listen to all of this at the archives of davesgoneby.com. So please do. And please check out my other website, davelefkowitz.org, which is where you can read my reviews and my... So this episode is all about me. This is really just about 20 years of this, of Dave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out with a little bit more of our very first episode of the show. Right way to end it. We'll put it towards just sort of the end there.
Looking forward to it,
yeah. And I'm going to thank again one more time just the folks who are on this episode of the show, which include Leslie Hoban Blake, Vicki Quade, Ozer Teitelbaum, Eddie Hug, and Rabbi Saul Solomon. Find out more about him at shalomdammit.com. Want to send some love out to my in-laws, to my mom. Also to David Shewart, who has been part of this program for a couple of years now. He's taking a hiatus from the broadcast for a few weeks, but he'll be back too. But I know he would have been with us had circumstances been a little different. So, yeah, all that going on. And, of course, my darling and adorable and wonderful wife, Joyce, who was there at that very first episode, bringing me in, just like, I go, why am I doing this? Why the hell am I doing this?
Bailing you out while the people wanted to kill you for your stuff about the rabbi and the breast exam.
Well, the rabbi thing, because there were gospel people in the station across the hall, and they were listening to this, and suddenly Rabbi Saul is talking about checking the boobies. I think I had a little bit of that. I actually do have some of that. Let's hear.
Story, what do we glean from it? Well, if you're a man, don't kill, don't sin. And when God tells you something, pay attention. And if you're a woman, don't talk to snakes, don't marry a brother, and don't play hard to beget. And speaking of women, as many of you might know, October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The sponsors of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, or as I like to call them, Boob Watch,
I thought you were a real
estimate that
rabbi.
this year,
Yes.
more than 200,000 new cases of breast cancer are expected to hit women in America. And it's my personal guess that 190,000 will be in Long Island alone. We're all living in a swamp. There are power lines inside our houses. Microwave ovens carry C-SPAN now. Damn it, children are being born with extra noses. So, if you're a woman living on Long Island, your boobs are ground zero. So let's get the firemen out of the damn building and prevent a nipple 9/11. Now, my wife, the lovely Rebbitzin, was supposed to be here doing this segment, but this is her poker night. So I'm going to have to pinch hit for her on this, or pinch tit, as it were. Now, October 18th is National Mammography Day. Go to your doctor, he'll do the machine, he'll squash you like latkes, and then you won't worry. Or, as I like to say, if you want knockers, smash your knockers. But aside from the mammograms, the American Cancer Society recommends that women examine their boobs once a month. If you have an unpredictable period, say an exclamation point, do the exam the same time every month. If you're pretty regular, do the test a couple of days after your period. If you're postmenopausal, you probably had dinner at 3 o'clock, went to sleep at 5, and you're not even listening. Okay, how to do a self-breast examination. I call it the cream of wheat maneuver because we're looking for lumps, changes, and thickenings. First things first, best way to do it is lying down or in the shower. In fact, that's the best way to do a lot of things, but today we're just going to do it standing up, listening to the radio. So, are you ready, ladies? Shirts off, bras off, girdles off, piercings out. If you can, face a mirror. Then you can follow along at home or daven, whatever you want to do. Now, please, ladies, no cheating. You must examine your own boobs. If you're a woman and you're touching another woman's boobs, please stop. And send the Polaroids to me, Rabbi Sol Solomon, care of Desk. No, I'm just teasing. All right, engineer, a little walk down memory lane music, if you please. Okay, raise your right hand in the air and wave it like you just don't care. Except you do care, because if there's a malignancy, you're screwed. Now, look in the mirror at your breast.
Even then, he was corpsing. He did it again today, talking about the boob segment, and he, he was starting to laugh. And here he was rushing through it because we had to cut for time.
So he lost his accent. He Americanized.
He lost his accent. He's rushing through, and he still wants to do the whole segment. And he's doing a very, very helpful thing for women to do.
I don't think so. I would never say that.
I think they changed the music on him too.
Are there two of them? If not, you probably already seen a doctor. If you have both
What kind of music is it?
if you have both
Like
conundrums,
Russian.
we move to step 2. Hold your right hand up and use the fingers of your left hand, not the fingertips, the flat part, to circle and massage.
All right. Anyway, so that was Rabbi Sol, literally 20 years ago, before he even started doing our rabbinical reflections.
So young.
Before he was off Broadway in the show that you can watch at shalomdammit.com. That was a little bit more of the very first episode of Dave's Gone By, and Rabbi Sal has been on a couple of hundred since then. We're thrilled that he was on this one, thrilled that Joyce was on this one, thrilled that all of you send me emails to davesgoneby@aol.com. Send me messages on this Facebook page, Dave's Gone By. And yes, if you want people who want to see this interview with Eddie Hugg or enjoy our 20th anniversary special, we will post this in a day or so at davesgoneby.com, the archive.org, where we have a channel, and also castbox.fm, where we have just the audio, and our YouTube channel too. It's all over the place. So, I'm all over the place. It's, my God, it's a little after 12:30 in the morning Eastern Time as we finish up the 867th episode. It was 20 years ago today, well, really yesterday now, that Dave's Gone By came out to play. I'm still playing, still having fun. Hope you are too. Let's go out with the way we went out all those years ago. Oh, come on.
Hometown.aol.com.
Wow.
/Dave's Gone By, no apostrophe. We'll be posting that tomorrow afternoon, so give us a few hours to get that up there. I'm going to give out a bunch of thank yous for making this show what it's been so far. Thank you to station manager Joey Alcaris, our wonderful engineer Paul, my assistant and wife Joyce Weil, and the kind wishes of all the friends and acquaintances who've sent me good luck letters and emails this past week. And of course, I want to thank all of you for listening. Please let me know your thoughts by snail mail and by email, davesgoneby@aol.com. Please tune in next Sunday, same bad time, same bad station. Please have a great week, and don't miss it while it's going by. I'm David Lefkowitz. I'm going to wish you a good night. I wish you a good morning, and gone by.
And then I would play the Waterboys version of Van Morrison's Sweet Thing
for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't play music anymore, but I would still play. If I could, I would play the Waterboys doing Sweet Thing, because it's been a sweet thing doing this all these years. I'll see you not this Saturday, but possibly Saturday morning next from 9 until noon or thereabouts with the 868th episode of Dave's Gone By. Till then, happy autumn to you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. It's coming right back at you, and gone by.